Throughout the Bible, most figures face a common fate, death. However, three prominent figures, Enoch, Elijah, and Melchizedek, allegedly escaped this common fate, which has intrigued scholars and theologians. These figures are shrouded in mystery that challenges our understanding of life, death, and divine intervention. By examining their unique stories and roles in the biblical narrative, we gain insight into how these individuals continue to influence religious thought and spiritual beliefs across generations. And we begin our story with one of the most enigmatic figures in human history. Enoch, a direct descendant of Adam through Seth, stands out as one of the most enigmatic figures in early biblical history. He was the great-grandfather of Noah and lived during the antediluvian period, a time characterized by extremely long lifespans. Unlike many of his contemporaries who lived for over 900 years, Enoch lived a much shorter lifespan of 365 years, but his legacy is far more lasting. The world he lived in was descending into ever greater corruption, eventually leading to the Great Flood, making his faithfulness to God all the more remarkable. The Bible highlights Enoch's close relationship with God, saying, "And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him." The phrase, "God took him," is often interpreted as Enoch being taken directly to heaven, bypassing death. In ancient tradition, this act is considered a unique sign of divine favor, while in Christian interpretations, it is seen as a foreshadowing of the resurrection and ascension of Jesus Christ. This direct ascension to heaven without experiencing death is unique in the Old Testament, highlighting the depth of Enoch's spirituality. The role of this man goes beyond his mysterious departure from earth. And his prophetic role shows that he was deeply connected to God's plans for humanity, which further reinforces the idea that his faith had significance for the entire world. His legacy is cemented through his great-grandson, Noah, whose righteousness saved humanity from total destruction during the flood. From a theological perspective, Enoch's unique departure from earth has enormous implications. It makes him one of the few people in the Bible to experience such a fate, paralleling Elijah's subsequent ascension. This exceptional relationship with God, characterized by unwavering faith, sets Enoch apart from other biblical figures. His story highlights the importance of faithfulness and righteousness, themes that resonate throughout the Bible and continue to inspire theological reflection and debate. Moreover, Enoch's life and ascension offer insight into the concept of eternal life and divine reward, elements that are central to both Jewish and Christian eschatology. His narrative encourages believers to reflect on their own relationship with God and the possibility of transcending mortality through unwavering faith. The next immortal man is Elijah, one of the most famous prophets of the Old Testament. He played a key role during the reign of King Ahab and Queen Jezebel in Israel. His prophetic ministry was marked by his boldness and unwavering devotion to the worship of the true God at a time when Israel was mired in idolatry. Jezebel, a devoted worshipper of the Canaanite god Baal, had greatly influenced Ahab, leading to the building of altars and widespread worship of false gods throughout the kingdom. Elijah was a lone voice of protest, challenging the spiritual corruption that had taken hold of Israel. His confrontation with the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel was one of the most dramatic moments of his ministry, demonstrating his unwavering faith and the power of God. One of Elijah's most significant miracles occurred during this confrontation. To prove God's power, Elijah called down fire from heaven to destroy a sacrifice doused with water, a feat that the prophets of Baal failed to duplicate. Elijah's ministry was also marked by other miracles, including multiplying a widow's oil and flour and raising her son from the dead. Another significant moment in Elijah's life was his prophecy of a severe drought as punishment for Israel's idolatry. No rain fell on the land for 3.5 years, leading to widespread famine and hardship. This drought, described in 1 Kings, demonstrated Elijah's authority as a prophet and the consequences of turning away from God. Elijah's life culminated in a miraculous event that sets him apart from almost every other biblical figure. As described in 2 Kings, Elijah did not die, but was taken up into heaven in a whirlwind, accompanied by a chariot of fire and horses. This extraordinary ascension was witnessed by his disciple Elisha, who had been warned of the event. Before Elijah was taken up, Elisha asked for a double portion of Elijah's spirit, and his request was granted, symbolizing the continuation and expansion of Elijah's prophetic power through Elisha. This moment not only emphasized the close relationship between the two prophets, but also highlighted the importance of spiritual inheritance and the transmission of the faith from one generation to the next. Elijah's significance extends far beyond his earthly ministry. In later biblical tradition, he is to return before the coming of the Messiah, based on the prophecy of Malachi, which states, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord." In Christian tradition, the role of Elijah is also important, especially in the New Testament, in the account of the transfiguration of Jesus, where Elijah appears alongside Moses, representing the prophets and the law. This appearance in Matthew further cements Elijah's role as a key figure in the fulfillment of God's plan. Furthermore, Elijah's expected return plays an important role in Christian contexts, where he is seen as a harbinger of the end times, signaling the coming of God's judgment and restoration of all things. And our third immortal figure is Melchizedek. One of the most enigmatic figures not only in the Bible but in human history as a whole, he appears briefly in Genesis 14. Following Abraham's victorious rescue of his nephew Lot from the hands of several kings, Melchizedek suddenly appears in the narrative. Described as the King of Salem and the priest of the Most High God, Melchizedek blesses Abraham and offers him bread and wine. In return, Abraham gives Melchizedek a tenth of all he had. Melchizedek's titles, King of Salem and Priest of the Most High God, carry deep symbolic meaning. Salem, often associated with Jerusalem, comes from the word meaning peace, indicating that Melchizedek was the King of Peace. As a priest, he serves the Most High God, which emphasizes his unique status and authority. Hebrews 7 describes Melchizedek as without father, without mother, without genealogy, and a priest forever. These descriptions have sparked debate about his identity. On one hand, Melchizedek may have been a pre-incarnate manifestation of Christ, while others believe that he was a unique figure, a historical priest-king who anticipated Christ. The lack of a recorded genealogy and his eternal priesthood set Melchizedek apart from other historical figures, adding to the mystery surrounding him. Melchizedek occupies an important place in Christian theology, especially in relation to Jesus as the eternal high priest. In Hebrews, Jesus is compared to Melchizedek rather than the Levitical priests, emphasizing the superiority and perpetuity of Jesus' priesthood. This comparison highlights the continuity between the Old and New Testaments and highlights the unique role of Christ in salvation history. Melchizedek's priesthood, like Christ's, is universal and not dependent on lineage or law, making him a key figure in understanding the nature of Christ's eternal priesthood and its implications for believers. As we study the lives of Enoch, Elijah, and Melchizedek, we see that these three men challenge our understanding of mortality and the possibility of overcoming it through righteousness and unwavering faith. And the ultimate lesson from this account is clear: be righteous, and you will live forever.